Hi, my name is Gregory, and I'm an addict and an alcoholic. I'm also a chef, and I live in Portland. Isn't Portland amazing? How amazing is Portland? Portland is an amazing place for many reasons. Our food scene, our natural surroundings, our sense of community. I got sober in Portland, so Portland means a lot to me. It's a place where one part of my story ended and another one began. I clearly remember my breaking point. 6 years ago, 8 a.m., the IKEA parking lot by the airport. I had to meet some friends who were shopping from Montana, because they don't have IKEA yet. I had been up all night drinking and doing cocaine. I had gotten no sleep. I realized I could no longer live my life this way. I asked my friend for help because I knew he was sober and he had this amazing sense of freedom to his life. It was then that I knew that I had to change. I've been cooking for 19 years. Thank you. I abused drugs and alcohol for 7 years. I've been sober for 6 years. Thank you. My parents moved to America in the 60s from Haiti. They pursued education and a better way of life. They worked multiple jobs, went to school all the time. They wanted a better life for my sister and I. We still feel the same way about each other. I ended up at a small boarding school in Delaware, kind of getting something a little bit better than it was offered in the city. Deadpool's side was actually filmed there to get a sense of what I went through. If you haven't seen the movie, it's an amazing and inspirational film about free thinking outside the box, starring the late, great, recovering drug addict and alcoholic Robin Williams. I did acid for the first time when I was 16. It was amazing and wild. Who else can remember their first acid trip? I raved through college in Montana in the 90s. We listened to crazy techno, wore crazy outfits, clubbed all night long. We ate all the ecstasy and snorted all the special K we could get mailed from New York. Designer drugs. I also did just enough bad small-town meth. Living on my own, actually, for the first time, however, I started cooking. I had to feed myself. And I started cooking for friends. And I loved it. I loved the creative process. I loved working with the ingredients. I loved combinations of things, shopping. I felt for the first time what it was like to actually create something and offer it to someone else for their pleasure. I felt for the first time when I was cooking what it feels like to make something and give it away, to give someone a piece of you. My first industry job was washing dishes in Montana, the Hobnob. I also, glorious. I was really slow too. I also cooked at the same time at a deli. I thought I had it together. I was having fun, working multiple jobs. But then again, who doesn't think they're invincible at 20 years old? In 2000, I was a college graduate attending the Culinary Institute of America in upstate New York. I started my externship at Jean-Georges restaurant in New York City in the Trump Hotel. An extern is kind of like an intern for cooks. He had 4 stars from the New York Times, their highest rating. He has 3 Michelin stars from The Guide, also the highest rating, in Europe as well. We work with the most luxe ingredients. We chased perfection in cuisine. We spared no cost. This was the standard I had to work towards. And we worked so many long hours to achieve this goal. In 2001, I foolishly went drinking one night after work, before my brunch shift. I woke up a few hours later in a pool of urine on my friend's couch, an hour late for work. And so the downward spiral began. New York City. We had hard nights. It was clubs and drugs, the city that never sleeps. I never slept. Late nights turned into after hours, party guy. After hours turned into drug-fueled mornings in random apartments around the city. Definitely hanging out with the wrong crowd. But sometimes it was with some of my best friends. Choosing to live hard. Building this strange connection that we all have. Fearlessly forcing the most out of life, even if it could take our lives, and even if it only felt good for a few seconds at a time. I was addicted to smoking cocaine for a year and a half. I remember the first time I stayed up for 3 days in a row. I remember the first time I slept for 3 days in a row, and no one knew where I was. Through all this madness, however, I held on to my job. I learned how to cook. I learned how to cook meat, vegetables, fish. I learned how to work with spices. I became a sous chef. I learned how to manage people. I became a chef de cuisine. I learned how to run a restaurant. I created recipes. We sold those dishes. I started working with Asian ingredients. It took a friend telling me that I could no longer work for him unless I went to rehab, which made me think about starting to change. It was the first time someone held the mirror up to me, and I took a look. I'm not sure what my parents thought the day I told them I had to move back to Queens because I was addicted to cocaine and alcohol and I had to go to rehab. I'm sure they weren't surprised. I drank and did drugs the 4 weeks I was in rehab in New York before I moved to California. On New Year's Eve 2007, I drank for 12 hours straight, got into my car and fell asleep at the wheel. I drove across a dirt road into a ditch and flipped and totaled my car. My gut reaction was to flee the scene, but a panic-stricken driver saw what happened, freaked out, and called 911. The car was completely totaled, and no one could believe I walked out perfectly fine. After the emergency room checkout, I walked into jail with broken glasses and a tiny scratch above my eye. Sometimes I still can't believe I'm still here. When I moved to Portland, not much within me had changed. I started to look around, however, and started to notice some things. My friends had stable careers. They owned homes. They were raising children. For the first time, I kind of gauged myself to the others around me. It was for the first time that I looked into the mirror on my own. We can all list a million things that we want to change about ourselves. It's hard to see the person you want to be and not be that person. A 32-year-old man stays up all night on drugs and alcohol and asks a friend for help in a parking lot. Go to AA, I was told, and I did. A lot of feelings surround walking into your first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. The nervousness, the anxiety, the shame. Hearing yourself say, I am an alcoholic, for the first time, and not really knowing what that means. But I was done and ready. When I got sober, I changed everything about my life. I set career goals inspired by a competitive Portland food market. I knew the best way for me to get involved was to connect with an amazing Portland community. I changed my diet. I started exercising. I ran 20 marathons. Two were 50 miles long. I focused on my career more than I ever had before. I did a little show called Top Chef, which still changing my life in amazing positive ways. Having learned how to function on little sleep, I got more done than I ever imagined I ever could. I channeled all that ag energy into positive things. You don't have to suffer through addiction to become the person you want to be. That is my story, however. They say the more you lose, the more you have to fight back for. The worse it gets, the better it can be. When you spend years not giving a damn about anything other than the now, Change is what allows you to place importance on tomorrow. There are many ingredients in my recipe for change. It's beautiful vegetables shining at the market. It's cooking alongside talented Portland chefs. It's cooking Oriental cuisine across the world. Cooking in Tokyo is awesome. It's remembering what it was like and never wanting to go back. It's knowing you can be whoever you want at any age, and knowing that it's never too late to start over. Today, I pull the ingredients from our recipe for change from these Portland streets and kitchens and mountaintops and waters. I have disclosed my personal story here today, leading me to the idea and the call to action that I would like to share with the TEDxPortland community and the world watching. If someone in your life needs help, please have the courage to hold the mirror up to them. Being forced to look into the mirror is what started a change in me. Be the mirror. Be the mirror. Have the courage to start the conversation. Reach out to your loved one, your coworker, your friend. Get them thinking. Ask the hard questions. Have the courage and conviction to lovingly support a colleague, stranger. You can reinvent a life. You can set someone on the right path. I've made amends in my life. Some are living, some are constant. I've apologized to the people I've hurt the most. I've been brought to my knees, weeping with the weight of how my life used to be. Grateful for the forgiveness of the people I hurt the most. When someone is battling addiction, reaches out for help, you have to grab onto those people and see that process through. True change is personal, but the road to change is paved by many, and I know this for sure. I am here today because people believed in me when I asked them to, when I needed them to. I am here today because I was given a second chance. If you know someone who needs help, believe in them as much as your heart allows until they believe in themselves. Many families deal with the struggles of alcoholic and addiction. The National Institute of Health says that 18% of Americans are problem drinkers. If you think about it, that's 600 of us here today. I've dealt with my shame. I tell my story so others know that there's another way to live. I tell my story so others know that it can be better. Be the mirror. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Because life, really good life, we all know it tastes better shared. Thank you.